The global power axis has shifted away from the Pacific Atlantic of the last century. It has moved to Indo-Pacific today. The new institutions that emerge in the post-COVID world order should offer a greater say for countries. I can use the word middle powers, or I can say countries in the Indo-Pacific region like India.
And we are also paying so much attention to China as an alternative model because the Western democracies have, in the last 10, 15 years, done so poorly. We have the global financial crisis, which really put paid to the kind of idea that was in place at the end of the Cold War, where there was all this hubris of end of history and democracies have won and things are all going to be going in one direction. And of course, we just are still in the COVID-19 pandemic. And again, in the current pandemic, the Western democracies have done very poorly. And we have done very poorly simply by us being very complacent and not being very level-headed in dealing with the challenges we faced. Is China a force for good for the world? Here, if we are being very honest and direct, I would have to say that the focus of Chinese foreign policy is to make the world safe for authoritarianism. A world that is safe for authoritarianism is a world that is safe for the Communist Party of China in China. And that is the first and foremost concern of the Chinese leadership under the Communist Party. A government that is dedicated to make the world safe for authoritarianism is a government that is fundamentally anti-democratic. I mean, that is the Communist Party of China. It is not undemocratic. It is not a-democratic. It is anti-democratic. System contrast. In a system like China's, a hard authoritarian system, the leader has to get policies right all the time to sustain good governance. Democracy is a system designed for mediocres. It's a system that does not usually support genius to be particularly great. But it's a system that can also accommodate leaders who are incredibly incompetent and irresponsible. And most of the time, it only needs very mediocre people running it to keep it going pretty well. And that, to me, is a system that is most likely to be able to deliver sustainable governance. Companies like Google has such power and such penetration, and it cannot be just Google. It is we have to try to engage with them and try to generate enough of commercial and social pressure that the major multinationals like Google's and Facebook's and Huawei's and Shell and BP have to take on their corporate social responsibilities, and where they don't, we collectively, by our actions, punish them.
In the 21st century, it's not just the states which run the global affairs. You have many other poles. That is why it's not even multipolarity as we understand, in the sense that many states emerging as poles. It is a number of non-state agencies. You referred to multinational corporations, the behemoths, the financial behemoths. While I say that democracy is the best available form of governance for individual countries, don't try to export or wage wars in the name of exporting it to other countries. Leave the other countries to their own, allow them to choose their own models. What we need to do is, rather than trying to export your model to other countries through wars and through other conflicts, you build a world order which is rules-based. When I say rules-based, it's not just for the countries alone, but also the corporations, but also all those who work across nations.
I guess where Lord Acton started, which is that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that is a reality of human life wherever we are. Democracy, therefore, is not so much an end itself. It's not so much about a system. I think democracy is about protecting a way of life where the humans can flourish, the individuals can be respected and therefore developed. We need a democratic electoral cycle to minimize the scope of abuse and therefore ensure that the protections of the rights of individuals and the scope for individuals to develop can be least damaged. And therefore, to me, there is an illiberal democracy is not a democracy. With all due respect, Ram, I think a democracy will have to be something that respects the liberal principles. It has to respect human rights. It will have to work with the rule of law. A democracy without rule of law is not a real democracy.